to introduce you to a series that M&P is hosting, Leader to Leader, where we're touring across the country talking to different executives about the food and beverage processing industry. This is a dynamic, fast-paced sector that's always changing and evolving. We want to share with you insights from today's top performers. Joining us is Matthew Von Teichman, CEO of GreenSpace Brands. Since 2002, GreenSpace has been creating products that inspire and improve lives through simple ingredients, traditional farming practices, and innovative branding. Among the lists of products they own include Life Choices, Rolling Meadow Dairy, Holistic Choice Pet Foods, Nudge, Love Child Organics, and Central Roast. Thanks, Matt, for joining us today.
Great to be here. Thanks, Matt.
You've made a lot of acquisitions, you own a lot of brands, you own a lot of products. Why is diversity important to you?
You know, I think it's important because really what we're trying to do is fill the holes in the product offerings in Canada. So we see the US and we see Europe and we see a lot of the developments in the natural food industry, and we realize that Canada doesn't have a lot of those products. And so what we're trying to do is either acquire brands that we can bring those products into Canada, or more importantly, what we're really trying to do is find these holes, that distribution holes, if you like, in the Canadian natural food industry, and launch products into them so that the consumer has more options. And right now, the consumer just doesn't have enough options.
Since 2002, there's been a lot of new products entering the market and the whole shift towards natural products. What's the big difference between conventional foods and natural foods?
There has been a lot of change in the natural food market. It's evolved. I mean, it really is a pretty new part of the industry, and it's evolved quickly. And basically, I think that the big difference between conventional and natural, that is evolving too. So 5 years ago or 10 years ago, natural meat meant just antibiotic-free and hormone-free. Now, natural meat means grass-fed and pastured, as well as antibiotic and hormone-free. So it's evolving. And at the same time, conventional's kind of catching up. So where we were 5 or 7 years ago, conventional's now there, antibiotic-free and hormone-free in case of meat. And we're pushing the boundary and trying to be the next iteration. And that dynamic, I think, is going to continue. That dynamic of having entrepreneurs or companies like ours continue to push the boundaries of what natural food is, that dynamic's going to continue, and conventional's just going to keep catching up, and we're going to keep pushing the boundaries, and that, I hope that kind of continues for a long time.
What's consumer sentiment around natural foods? What are you seeing?
It's never been stronger. Consumers are more interested in natural food than ever before. Natural food, generally organic natural food, is growing at 14%, whereas conventional food is growing under 2%. So the growth in the natural food industry is enormous, and it's very pervasive. So it used to be just mothers feeding their kids, and they were really the early adopters of natural food. And now it's millennials and baby boomers, as well as mothers feeding their kids. And now people are making conscious decisions to spend more of their disposable income on natural food. So it's really becoming pervasive. And the natural food industry is just sort of growing in lockstep with the entire Canadian consuming world.
So with more and more products that are coming out in the marketplace, in the natural and organic space, you're seeing consumers have a lot more choices and options in this area, and companies are evolving and adopting to those changes in the trends. I guess along with that comes the risk of false claims that are being made by some of these companies. What do you recommend consumers should think about or look for when making their choices?
Yeah, and that risk is real, is very real, and we call it greenwashing. I think the industry kind of calls it greenwashing now. I think the consuming public has to look beyond just a word like natural, which is really getting watered down. Natural doesn't mean very much anymore, and they have to look at claims. So they have to believe in the company that's putting it forward, and then they have to look at the claims to make sure that the claims are what they're looking for. So things like grass-fed and pasture-raised and antibiotic-free and hormone-free and non-irradiated and different things like that are really important to the consuming public. That's the kind of stuff that consumers have to look for. They can trust the brand organic. They can trust if it says organic, there's a standard they're meeting. But if it says natural, often it doesn't mean anything, and they've got to dig deeper.
So you're clearly a successful company. What trends do you see emerging from here in the industry?
Yeah, I think that the industry is going to keep evolving. The biggest trend we see, and we're really staking a lot of our kind of future on it, is grass-fed. We think grass-fed dairy, grass-fed meat is very, very important. We think clean snacking is very important, that people are moving away from this concept of snacking on chocolate bars and and chips, and going to things like nuts and seeds, the way we used to snack, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And I think that concept of clean snacking is really evolving. Sweeteners, we like that category because I think sugar is becoming, there's more knowledge about the dangerous effects of sugar, it's in some cases, and so I think the sweetener category is quite interesting, and there's a whole bunch of different categories, and I think companies like GreenSpace and other smaller kind of entrepreneurial driven companies will continue to kind of push the boundary and evolve.
What's your biggest opportunity as you see it in the coming years?
Loads of opportunities. Our industry is growing so fast, and there's so many small entrepreneurs who have fabulous products but have hit a wall. Usually it's a capital wall, or sometimes they don't have the knowledge base to keep growing their business. So we think there's a lot of acquisitions in us in the next kind of 3 or 4 years, and so that's a big piece. And then there's a ton of opportunity to just see what's developing in other markets, or let our internal team come up with concepts and launch those concepts with the brands we have now.
Matthew, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. You're clearly doing a lot of things right, and we wish you much continued success in the future.
Thanks, man. Much appreciated.
If you'd like to learn more about GreenSpace, please visit their website at greenspaceBrands.ca. From one leader to another, we look forward to sharing more thoughts and insights with you in the coming months.